Welcome to Question Bank. This is the second part of probable questions for Vizag Steel MT exam, and this is only for electrical engineering. I have already done the first part consisting of 50 questions, and now this is the second part. For first part, please click on this information I button and watch this video. And let's have the first question. Question number 51. The softness factor of soft recovery and fast recovery diode are respectively option A 1 greater than 1, option B smaller than 1, 1, option C 1, 1, and option D 1 smaller than 1. So here the softness factor of soft recovery and fast recovery diode is asking. So what is first the softness factor? Softness factor SF is equal to TB by TA. Then what is TB and TA? TB is the charge recovery time from semiconductor layer, and similarly TB is the charge recovery time from depletion region. That means TA plus TB will be the total recovery time, total charge recovery time in the during reverse bias condition. So here this is the softness factor, and the softness factor for soft recovery diode is 1 and smaller than 1 for fast recovery diode or snappy diode. So here answer is 1 minus 1, sorry 1 smaller than 1 is the answer here. Next question, for thyristor, if gate current increases, what happens to forward breakover voltage? This is the question. So here is the plot. Here is the plot which shows the relation between gate current Ig and the forward breakover voltage. The plot will be like this. So for increasing trend of Ig, what happens? Suppose this one is Ig1, this one is Ig2, and this is Ig3. So for increasing trend of Ig, the forward breakover voltage will decrease. That means if we apply maximum gate current or the higher gate current, the forward breakover voltage at the voltage at which the the thyristor starts to conduct, that is the forward breakover voltage, will decrease gradually. So this is the answer is decrease. Next question is question number 53. To maintain uniform voltage across each SCR in series connected SCRs during steady state, what is employed? So for series connected SCRs, what we are employing to maintain uniform voltage across each SCR? This is the question. So here the answer is first option is parallel resistance of same value across each SCR. Option B is parallel resistance of different values across each SCR. Option C is a series combination of resistance and capacitance to be connected across each SCR, and option D is different value of capacitance across each SCR. So here during steady state, static equalizing resistance of same value are to be connected for each SCR. So this answer is this one, parallel resistance of a same value, and this resistance is called static equalizing resistance, and this acts only for the steady state to maintain uniform voltage across each SCR. But in case of transient condition, to maintain constant voltage across each SCR, we have to connect a series combination of this one, series combination of resistance and a capacitance like this, and a bypass diode across each SCR. Across, I am here drawing the one SCR and there will be lot of SCR. Suppose here another SCR and this SCR also have the parallel circuit like that. This is the dynamic equalizing circuit, and here the same another R, this is called the static equalizing resistance. Here the question is regarding this one. Next question is, which of the following statement is wrong regarding GTO in comparison to SCR? Option A is reverse blocking capacity is low. Option B is requires high triggering current. Option C is poor turn off gain. Option D is low latching current. So here this one is wrong because these all options are correct. Option D is wrong because latching and holding current in case of GTO are higher than that of or those of SCR. So option D here is the correct answer. Next question, question number 55. What is the input power factor of a single phase half wave rectifier? So for single phase half wave rectifier, asking for the input power factor. So here power factor is, we can give the power factor like power delivered to load by input VA, input volt ampere. So this will be for the single phase half wave rectifier. What will be the power delivered to the load? Vrms is given by Vm by 2 into Vm by 2R, and input VA will be the RMS input. RMS input is simply Vm by root 2 into Vm by 2R, because current in both the cases are same, and here we are getting 1 by root 2. That means 0.707 lagging. So here the answer is 0.707 lag, not lead. Next question is, a converter which can operate both in 3 poles and 6 poles modes is a, here are the options, and here this is asking for the converter which can be operated in both 3 poles and 6 poles mode. So this is option number C, that is 3-phase semi-converter. So for 6 poles it can be operated for alpha smaller than 60 degree. Alpha is the firing angle, and for 3 poles operation this can be operated for alpha greater than equal to 60 degree. Next question is, for firing angle of 60 degree in respect of a single phase half wave controlled rectifier with resistive load supplied from a 230 volt RMS 50 Hz supply, the average output voltage would be. So here given that firing angle is given 60 degree and another thing is given 230 volt RMS 50 Hz supply. So what will be the average voltage? So average voltage, directly you can apply the formula, V output average is equal to Vm by 2 pi 1 plus cos alpha. This is very basic. So what is Vm? Vm is root 2 into RMS value, root 2 into 230 RMS value by 2 pi into 1 plus cos 60, and if we calculate this one, this will be 77.65. So here answer is B, 77.5 volt. Next question is, for a step up chopper with input voltage of 220 volt and output voltage of 330 volt has non-conducting time of 100 microsecond, the on time will be. So here this is in this question given that step of chopper, first thing, this is step of chopper with input voltage 220 volt and output voltage 330 volt. Non conducting time, that means off time, is 100 microsecond and asking for on time. So here we know that for step of chopper, V output can be given by Vs, that is input or source voltage, by 1 minus alpha. Alpha is the duty ratio. So this is 330 given is equal to 220 into 1 by 1 minus alpha. So we are getting 1 minus alpha is equal to 220 by 330, that means 2 by 3. So here alpha is equal to 1 minus 2 by 3 and this is equal to 1 by 3, and we are getting alpha is equal to 1 by 3. Alpha means the duty cycle or the turn on time by turn on plus turn off. This is equal to 1 by 3. So what will be the next step? We have to reciprocate. So this will be turn on plus turn off by turn on will be equal to 3, and this will be equal to 1 plus turn off by turn on. So this will be 3, and turn off by turn on will be equal to 2, and here given that turn off T off is given to be 100 microsecond. So what will be the T on? T on will be T off by 2, and this will be 50 microsecond. So answer will be 50 microsecond. So and next question 59. Compared to a single phase half bridge inverter, the output power of a single phase full bridge inverter is higher by a factor of. So this is 4 times higher, as voltage is 2 times the power. So power will be 2 times voltage. I am explaining this one. First thing is, compared to single phase half bridge inverter, what will be the power is how much? Power is how much bigger. So here first thing is voltage of a full bridge inverter. Voltage of single phase full bridge inverter is 2 times that of RMS voltage is 2 times that of half bridge inverter. So as voltage is 2 times, then power will be 4 times. Power will be 4 times, because here asking is output power. Next question is, current source inverters are suitable for supplying power to, this is capacitive load. This is capacitive load, because these inverters need the reactive power. Which of the following is not true for SF6 gas? So option A is it is electronegative in nature. Option B is it has high dielectric strength. It is non-toxic. It is highly inflammable. So here option D is not correct, because it is non-inflammable. This is not flammable. This is not non-inflammable. Next question is, if a dielectric material is subjected to an alternating electric field of frequency f, dielectric loss is proportional to. So here dielectric material is subjected to an alternating electric field of a frequency f, then dielectric loss will be what? So here dielectric loss I can write that dielectric loss is equal to half into epsilon naught epsilon double prime omega E naught square. So here this is dielectric loss, and here omega double prime is the imaginary part of complex permittivity, and omega is 2 pi f. So dielectric loss will be directly proportional to f. So dielectric loss is directly proportional to f. Next question is the temperature below which certain materials are antiferromagnetic and above which they are paramagnetic. So this is the nil temperature. This is the definition of nil temperature. So you must know that if the material is converting from ferromagnetic to paramagnetic at a certain temperature, this is called the Curie temperature. Ferromagnetic to paramagnetic, this is called Curie temperature. Similarly, if antiferromagnetic materials, antiferromagnetic materials are converting to paramagnetic, then this is called nil temperature. This is Curie temperature is also same for the ferroelectric materials also. If ferroelectric materials are converting to paraelectric materials at a certain temperature, then this temperature for the certain material will be the Curie temperature of that material. Next question is two metals having temperature coefficient of resistivity of 0.004 and 0.0004 are joined in series. What is the approximate temperature coefficient? Here temperature coefficient of resistivity has been considered. So for this type of question, generally the resultant temperature coefficient of the series combination will be the average or nearby. So here what will be the average nearby? This will be in between value. This is the in between value of this one and this one. So this is the answer here, because these two are greater than this one. This one is the large value and this one is the small value. Both are larger than that one, and here this one is smaller than this one. So this is the answer which is lying in between two values. Next question is principle of Hall effect is used in construction of which of the following? Option A, clamp meter. Option B, Pirani gauge. Option C, tachometer. Option D is gauge meter. Here answer is gauge meter, to measure the flux. And here clamp meter you must have known that clamp meter to measure the current flowing in a conductor without touching that conductor or without any connection. We will clamp meter is like this. We have to clamp this one, and here there will be conductor, and here this is the meter and display. So we have to clamp that conductor with the jaws of that meter, and we will know the current. And what is the Pirani gauge? Pirani gauge is used to measure the vacuum pressure. And what is tachometer? You must have known that tachometer is used to measure the rotation speed in RPM of motors or anything. Next question is question number 66. The electric field across a dielectric air interface is shown in the given figure. The surface charge density on the interface is. So here this one is the air medium, AIR, because here epsilon is equal to 1. So this is air medium, and this is some dielectric medium having the dielectric constant is equal to 2. So what will happen here? According to the boundary condition for electric field, we can write that d1 d2 minus d1 is equal to minus rho s. Rho s is the surface charge density. And what is d2? D2 I can write here that epsilon 2 E2 in vector form ax dot es. Here this is the dot multiplication, this one is the d1 and sorry d2, and what will be the d1? D1 will be epsilon 1 E1 ax vector is equal to minus rho s. This is the formula. And here what is epsilon 2? Epsilon 2 is 2. And what is E2? What is E2? E2 is equal to 2ax cap or ax vector into ax dot multiplication ax minus epsilon naught. Here this one is epsilon naught, here this will be, and epsilon naught ax cap dot ax cap, because here E is equal to 1 into ax cap, so this will be this much is equal to minus s rho s, and this will be ax cap dot product ax cap, so this will be in the same direction. That is why the theta, the angle between them will be 0, and cos 0 is equal to 1. That means this will be 4 epsilon naught minus this will be epsilon naught. So the answer, sorry, not f, this is rho s, and here rho s will be 3 minus 3 epsilon naught, minus 3 epsilon naught. Next question is, the capacitance of an insulated conducting sphere of radius r is in vacuum is. So insulated conducting sphere of radius r in vacuum, let a charge is placed on the sphere, then it will uniformly distributed on the sphere. So potential at the sphere will be, potential at the surface of the sphere, what will be the potential? Potential will be V is equal to Q by 4 pi epsilon 0 r. So as potential is this much, so what will be the capacitance? Capacitance is equal to Q by V. So that will be, so capacitance will be Q by V, that means Q by 4 pi epsilon naught r. So this will be, answer will be, capacitance will be equal to 4 pi epsilon naught r. So this is the answer, 4 pi epsilon naught, 4 pi epsilon naught, sorry, epsilon naught r, this one. Next question is, according to Gauss law, the surface integral of normal component of electric flux density d over a closed surface containing the charge q is. So this is actually given that according to the Gauss law, total flux through any closed surface is equal to the total charge enclosed by the surface. That means suppose psi is the total flux, this will be equal to the charge q enclosed within the surface. So and psi is equal to this one is asking, actually d dot capital D dot ds, capital D dot ds. This is the question asking. What is question is asking? The surface integral of normal component of electric flux density d. So d is the electric flux density, and here integration s is the surface integral, and surface integral of normal component of electric flux. Normal component is d dot ds. S is the vector which is normal to the surface. So normal component will be d dot ds. So its closed integral with the surface will be the charge enclosed. So here answer will be q. Here this is the directly the Gauss law, but here this is asking indirectly by the mathematical expression and expressing it in literature. So next question is, if a vector field B is solenoidal, which of these is true? So for solenoidal, Gauss law of magnitude, solenoidal divergence theorem gives according to the divergence theorem, this one should be 0. So this is the Gauss divergence theorem. So this means no existence of magnetic monopole. So this can also be represented like surface integral of B dot ds is equal to 0. B dot ds is equal to 0. So here option B is the correct answer. Next question is, a long straight wire carries a current 10 ampere. At what distance is the magnetic field H is equal to 1 ampere per meter? So here, due to long straight wire, the field at a distance of r, suppose this one is the long straight layer and here is the r, and this is the perpendicular distance, and this distance is r, and here we are getting the field H, and this is conductor is carrying current I. So what will be the field? Field is equal to H vector is equal to I by 2 pi r a phi cap. So this will be, this is given 1 is equal to 10 by 2 pi r. So r will be equal to 10 by 2 pi, and this will be 1.59. So here answer is C. Next question is question number 71. Which of the following indicates a continuous time signal? Here continuous time signal. See, actually this question is printed wrong, and this is indicates a periodic continuous time signal. So what is the periodic time? Which of the following is a periodic continuous time signal? So here this one is the periodic continuous time signal. Here this one is also continuous, sorry, this one is also periodic but not continuous. This one is for discrete notation, discrete function, and this is not at all a periodic signal. And xt is equal to x of 2t. You can say that x of t plus t, it can be represented like this, and this is a periodic signal, and this is wrong, because period means a constant value after which the value or the output or the function is repeating itself. So here t is not a constant value, we are varying the t, so t is not a constant value like this. Here 2t is given, but 2t is the period of that function. Suppose I am writing that sine omega t plus 10. Here 10 is the period after which, suppose this is not sine, suppose this one is x of t plus 10, then 10 will be the period of xt. If I write here t, then as we vary the t, this will also vary, and this is not a periodic function. Next question is, an LTI system is said to be initially relaxed system only if option A, initially only inputs are 0, initially only outputs are 0, null input produces null output, option D is 0 input produces non-zero constant output. So here answer or the definition of a initially relaxed system is it will produce null output for null input, or null input produces null output. This is the initially relaxed system, and this is generally used in the definition of Laplace transform, or in case of also state transition matrix or state space analysis also. Question number 73, this one is the expression given, and the question is the DC components or component of above expression each or are. So what are the DC components here? So in this expression clearly we can see that this one is one DC component and this one is another DC component. What is the DC component? Where the frequency is 0. So as the frequency is 0, there is the DC component. So in case of this one B0, there will be, this should be added to this one, and this should be one component, because in case of sine, in case of cos, this is possible, frequency will be 0 and cos 0 will be 1, but in case of sine term, if sine 0, this will be 0, sine 0 will be 0. So B0 term should not be present in this question, but here B0 is given, so we have to consider both. If there is an option of A0 plus B0, so this should be the answer here, but here given that A0 only, so this is not, because here B0 is also added to that value. So here we can select this one, A1, sorry, not this one, A0 plus B0, A0 and B0 is given, but this should be A0 plus B0, because in case of sine terms there will be no DC term, because sine 0 will be 0. Next question is, which type of Fourier series allows to represent the negative frequencies by plotting the double-sided spectrum for the analysis of a periodic signal? So here this is the exponential Fourier series, because in case of Fourier series there are different forms, trigonometric also present and polar form also present. So exponential Fourier series can be satisfied for this requirement. Next question is, the Laplace transform of e to the power minus at cos omega t ut is. So here this is e to the power minus at cos omega t. So for cos omega t, what is the Laplace transform? S by a square plus omega square, and here in the time domain e to the power minus at is multiplied. That means this is the frequency shifting. Frequency shifting means we have to put a shift of a in the frequency domain. So what will be the answer? Answer will be s plus a by s plus a whole square plus omega square. And ROC, this is important because here in the options ROC is given differently. So ROC will be sigma greater than minus a, So here the answer will be sigma greater than minus a, because here also given in this, here sigma greater than a given, sigma smaller than minus a given, here sigma greater than minus a given, but this one is plus given. So this is not, sorry, the answer will be option A, because this one is plus, not minus. So here the answer is perfectly matched, option A. So we have to also point out to the ROC values. Next question is, the total average power of a periodic signal is equal to the sum of average powers of individual Fourier coefficients. Which theorem this is? Which theorem this is, so this is Parseval's theorem. This is Parseval's theorem. Next question is question number 77. 8085 microprocessor has how many pins? So 8085, this is a very simple question, and this may be asked if you have no thoughts about that 8085 microprocessor, then you can take a mistake. But here this is the 8085 has 40 pins. 8085 have 40 pins, and it is an 8-bit processor. It has 40 pins, and how much supply it takes? It takes plus 5 volt DC, and its clock speed is CLOCK. Clock speed is 3 megahertz. Similarly, clock cycle is 320 nanosecond, and it has totally 80 basic instructions and 246 opcodes. This should be remembered. This is the introduction of 8085 microprocessor, so we have to remember these things. Next question is question number 78. The cycle required to fetch and execute an instruction in a 8085 microprocessor is which one of the following? Clock cycle, memory cycle, machine cycle, instruction cycle. So this is instruction cycle. This is the definition of instruction cycle. This is the definition of instruction cycle, and here memory cycle, machine cycle are same. Next question is, high frequency noise can be attenuated by connecting a series capacitance, connecting a shunt capacitance, by high pass filter, and option D is none of the above. So high frequency noise can be attenuated by connecting a shunt capacitance, because for high frequency XC is equal to 1 by omega C, and here omega is the frequency. As omega increases, XC will decrease. As XC decreases, overall impedance will decrease, and the high frequency components of the signal will be shorted to the ground, and this will be filtered out. So next question is, signal of a subwoofer is provided through. Signal of a subwoofer is provided through. A subwoofer is a loudspeaker which is generally designed for low frequency applications. So in subwoofer, generally the frequency provided is 20. The circuit before that subwoofer, which filters the song or any audio signal in between 20 to 200 hertz, and our audible sound range is generally 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. So subwoofer only takes 20 hertz to 200 hertz. Similarly, the woofer which takes 20 hertz to 500 hertz. And we know that in case of audio systems, we must have listened that 5.1 channel, 7.1 channel, 3.1 channel, 2.1 channel, not 3.1 channel, generally 2.1 channel. And this means there will be satellite speakers. Suppose these are the satellite speakers which are taking the whole range of frequency. Suppose generally 20 hertz to 2 kilohertz. This will generally act on whole the frequency, and the whole frequency, and for the low frequency this may not operate. So I am taking to be the lower frequency of the satellite speakers to be generally 600 hertz to the higher hertz, and for higher hertz generally tweeters are used. So for I am writing it to be suppose 18 kilohertz. These are not actual value I am writing, and there will be a big subwoofer which will produce the bass, and bass is the generally 0.20 Hz to 200 Hz low frequency operation. So here, as this is low frequency and it is passing the low frequency, so this is a low pass filter. This is a low pass filter. This is provided the signal by a low pass filter. Next question is, what is the resolution of a voltmeter which has 100 scale divisions and can measure up to 100 volt? Each division can be read up to half divisions. So here the voltmeter has 100 scale divisions and it can measure up to 100 volts. So each division are getting 1 volt and each division can read to half division. So the resolution will be 0.5 volts. So what is the resolution? Resolution is the smallest change that can an instrument measure. So here smallest can change, we can measure that 0.5 volt. Next question is, to the x and y inputs of an oscilloscope, signals applied are 10 sin 100 pi t and 10 cos 100 pi t respectively, and both inputs are same gain, have same gain. Then screen shows, what will be the screen is showing. This is very simple question, and here the confusing term are this one. These are the confusing terms. So what will happen? X is given to be 10 sin 100 pi t and y is given 10 cos 100 pi t. So what will happen in the screen? X square plus y square. So what will be x square plus y square? This will be 100, taking 100 common, this will be sin square 100 pi t plus cos square 100 pi t. So this will be x square plus y square will be equal to, this is 1, cos square theta plus sin square theta is equal to 1. So this will be 100 or 10 square. So here this is the directly the equation of a circle. X square plus y square is equal to c square, and c is the center of that circle. So here in the screen it will show a circle as the gain are same. If gain are not same, then it will not a circle, it will be like egg or ellipse structure. Next question, question number 83. What is the SI unit of the 1 by epsilon naught mu naught root over? So this represents actually the speed of light. This is constant and this is also constant, and this total value is giving the speed of light, and as this is the speed, the unit will be meter per second. Very simple. So next question is, if the current in a capacitor leads the voltage by 80 degree, the dissipation factor of the capacitor is. So here if the capacitor is pure, that means there will be no loss, then current will lead the voltage by directly 90 degree. But in case of this capacitor, current is leading the voltage by 80 degree. That means there is a 10 degree of loss, 10 degree of resistance value, because of which the loss is occurring. That means there is a leakage factor. The capacitance is not pure. So due to this 10, what will be the dissipation factor? Dissipation factor is given by the tangent of that loss angle. So this is the tan 10 degree, and this is also called the loss tangent, dissipation factor and loss tangent. And this the permittivity, complex permittivity is given by, this is the permittivity, complex permittivity I am writing. Complex permittivity is given like epsilon prime cross j epsilon double prime, and here the tan inverse tan delta is the loss, and this is epsilon double prime by epsilon prime. This is the complex permittivity of a material, and this is the loss tangent. These are the parameters by which we can calculate the capacitance and how it is behaving with respect to the frequency. If we vary the frequency, how the capacitance is changing. Next question is, an ammeter of range 0 to 25 ampere has a guaranteed accuracy error of 1%. The current measured by the ammeter is 5 ampere. The limiting error in the reading is. So in this question, guaranteed accuracy error is given. Guaranteed accuracy error is given to be 1%. So this error will persist for every measurement. That is why this is called guaranteed accuracy error. This error is guaranteed for every measurement. So limiting error for measurement of 5 ampere will be 0. What is the guaranteed accuracy error in terms of ampere? This is guaranteed accuracy error is always measured on the basis of the highest measuring capacity or the maximum reading capacity. That means here the full scale reading is 25 ampere. So here 25 into 1%, that means 0.01 is equal to 0.25 ampere. So 0.25 ampere is the error which we will see for every measurement if we may use that ammeter to measure anything. So for 5 ampere of measurement, what will be the limiting error? For 5 ampere, this will be the limiting error, and limiting error in terms of percentage will be 0.25 by 5 and into 100. This will be 5%. You can also remember the formula, but this is the meaning of guaranteed accuracy error, and this is very important for exams, guaranteed accuracy error term. Next question is, a moving iron ammeter may be compensated for frequency by dash. So this is the shunt capacitance. Shunt capacitor can be used to compensate a moving iron ammeter for frequency. So next question is question number 87. PMMC type instrument generally use fluid friction damping, air friction damping, eddy current damping, none of the above. So this uses generally eddy current damping, and this is the only instrument in our syllabus which is using eddy current damping, because it is having the permanent magnet. Because in case of any other instruments there is no permanent magnet, and in case of permanent magnet we can use eddy current as the perfect damping system. So next question is, which waveform has least form factor? So which, you can remember these things or you can calculate. My suggestion is to remember these things. So square wave, for symmetrical square wave. Symmetrical square wave means this was the symmetrical square wave. This one is the symmetrical square wave. The form factor will be 1. And for triangular, this is triangular, symmetrical triangular. That means like this. This is the symmetrical triangular. So this is 2 by root 3, and its value is 1.154. And for sine wave, you know that is 1.11. And for sawtooth means like this. Here this is a ramp and this is directly here, and this is like this. This is sawtooth. This is sawtooth waveform. And for sawtooth waveform, this is also same, that is 2 by root 3, and this is also equal to 1.154. So which waveform has least form factor? Least form factor is having the square wave. And there is also the unsymmetrical waves. Unsymmetrical wave means unsymmetrical, I am considering here all the symmetrical waves. What is the unsymmetrical waves? This is unsymmetrical waves. That means half wave rectified square wave. This is having the form factor of √2, but in case of on symmetrical triangular wave like this, it has the same 2 by √3. The form factor will be same in case of on symmetrical triangular waves. Next question is, which of the following is true for measurement of 3-phase power by 2 wattmeter method when power factor is less than 0.5? So here power factor is given to be less than 0.5, that means cos theta is maximum 0.5, that means is half, that means theta is equal to 60 degree, and cos theta value is ranging from 0 to 0.5, because cos theta has minimum value of 0. So here it has the theta value will range from, for 0.5 this will be 60 degree, and for this one this will be 90 degree. So theta value will range from 60 degree to 90 degree. For these values, what will be the readings of the things, and here options are given. So what will happen for suppose 60 degree, so what is the tan 60, tan theta value? I have already discussed in many of the exams and many of the question discussions that tan 60 will be equal to √3 into W1 minus W2 by W1 plus W2. This is the value of tan theta. Theta is the power factor angle. This is the formula. Here √3 W1 minus W2 is the reactive power, and W1 plus W2 is the real power, and W1 and W2 are the readings of 2 wattmeters connected to the 3-phase system to measure the total power consumed by that 3-phase system. So here, so what will happen here, if I put tan 60 degree, so it will be √3, and this will be equal to √3 into W1 minus W2 by W1 plus W2. So how it will be same? W1 plus W2 is equal to W1 minus W2. When it will be same? When W2 will be equal to 0. So when W2 will be equal to 0, this will be W1 by W1, and this will be cancelled out to be 1, and the answer will be √3. So that means from 60 degree W2 becoming 0, and if we increase the power factor angle from 60 degree to 90 degree, W2 will be negative value. W2 will have the negative value. So what will we do? We do the reverse, because in case of meter there is no negative value for wattmeter. This is the pointing, and pointer will not go beyond this one. It can only go in forward direction, it cannot go beyond this one. This is the starting position. So we have to change, we have to alter the input terminals of that wattmeter. So here we have to reverse 1 wattmeter. We have to reverse 1 wattmeter. Option C is the correct answer. And for the option this one gives 0 reading, So if this question has given that if the question is given like that, the power factor is equal to 0.5, not less than 0.5. If equal to 0.5, so 1 meter will give 0 reading, as we have seen here. So next question number 90. Which of the following statement is not true regarding current transformer? Option A is secondary is always short circuited. This is correct. Secondary has large number of turns compared to primary. This is also correct. One terminal is earthed through an ammeter to measure the current. This is wrong. This is wrong. Current transformer is also known as series transformer. This is also true. So option C is wrong. So in case of current transformer, suppose this one is the line and this one is the line part, and here there is the current transformer, there is a switch. Generally there is a switch, and here ammeter is connected, and the same part is generally connected to ground. What is this? Is not through a ammeter. Ammeter is generally connected in between the two secondary terminals of that CT. And why this grounding occurs? This grounding is generally occurs to avoid large voltage on the secondary with respect to earth, because here the turns on the secondary winding is very high, so the voltage difference will be very high. So we have to earth one terminal to avoid the insulation breakdown of the instruments and in the secondary portion, because secondary is more nearer to the human access. So next question number 91. Cells are connected in series in order to increase current rating, increase voltage rating, increase life of cells, none of the above. So this is increase the voltage rating, because voltages will be added and current will be same. So next question number 92. What will be the value of current I in ampere for the given circuit? So here the circuit is given and we have to find out this current we have to find out. So what will be the current? How can we calculate this one? By applying KCL. So this total connection I am taking this to be one node, and this is the voltage V. So what will happen if we apply KCL at node V? 60 minus V here, 60 minus V by 2 plus 20 ampere, this one 20 plus 30 minus V by 3, this one plus 0 minus V, this one rest one, 0 minus V by 6 is equal to 0. And this is going to, I am solving the V, and V will coming to be 60 volt. I am not solving the whole thing, I am directly writing V is equal to 60 volt, because this is very easy and can be solved very easily. So what will be the I? Here I will be V by 6. So this will be 60 by 6, this will be 10 ampere. So here answer is 10. Next question is determine the power factor of 230 volt 0.5 ampere 40 watt fluorescence lamp. So for power factor cos phi or cos theta will be equal to P by VI, that means real power by apparent power. So this will be 40 watt by 230 volt into 0.5 ampere. So watt by volt ampere, it will be the cos theta, and this will be 40 by 230 into 0.5, and this will be equal to 0.348. So answer will be 0.348. Next question is a parallel RLC circuit is being supplied by a DC source as shown in the figure below. What is the value of current flowing through the capacitor in ampere? So what is the current flowing through the capacitor? So here look at this one is a DC source. As this one is a DC source, during the steady state this inductor will be short circuited and this capacitor will be open circuited, as this will be open circuited, there will be no current flow in the capacitor. So this is answer will be 0. This is very simple question. Using Millman's theorem, find the current through the load resistance RL of 3 ohm resistance shown in the figure below. So here this one is 3 ohm and we have to find out the current due to these sources. So in case of Millman's theorem, we can calculate the effective voltage like V1 G1. G1 is the conductance, V2 G2 plus V3 G3 by G1 plus G2 plus G3. So this will be as here given, this one is 8, 3, 16, 3, 24, 3. So I am writing 8 and conductance will be 1 by 3 plus 16 into 1 by 3 plus 24 into 1 by 3. Conductances are 1 by 3 plus 1 by 3 plus 1 by 3, and this will be 48 into 1 by 3 by 1 by 3 plus 1 by 3 plus 1 by 3, 3 by 3, this will be 1, and this will be 48 by 3, this will be 16 volt. So as here the resultant voltage we are getting 16 volt, and what will be the resultant resistance? Resultant resistance will be 1 by G1 plus G2 plus G3. So this will be 1 ohm. So the equivalent will be like this. Equivalent will be like this. There will be nothing. We can replace these things by only a resistor and a source. This one is the V and this one is the R. What is the V value? V value we are getting 16 volt and R value is 1. So total resistance is 4 ohm and V is given 16. We have calculated 16. So what will be the current? Current will be 16 by 4. This will be 4 ampere. 4 ampere will be the current. 4 ampere here. Option B. Next question, find the Thevenin's equivalent resistance across the load terminal AB. So here we have to calculate the Thevenin equivalent resistance. So during the Thevenin equivalent questions, we have to short the voltage sources and open the current sources for ideal sources. So here this will be sorted. So I am sorting this one. So I am sorting the current and voltage sources. So this will be like this. This is sorted and here this is open circuited. So what will happen now? These two 1 ampere resistances are in series. So this will be 2 and these 2 will be in parallel with these 2. So 2 parallel 2, this will be 1 ampere. I am not drawing this one, this is 1 ampere. And this 1 ampere will be in series along with all these things. So what will be the total resistance? There is another 1. Sorry, not ampere, this is ohm. So this will be 4 plus 5, this is 9, plus 1, 10, and this is 3, 13, and 2, this is 15. So this will be 15 ohm. Answer is option number B. So next question is, calculate the total inductance in Henry of circuit shown below. So here is the circuit given where parallel connections of the inductors given and the mutual inductances are given. So we have to calculate the equivalent inductance. So we know that we don't have the formula to calculate the mutual inductance of 3 inductances connected in parallel. So we have to calculate manually. So what will be the L1 equivalent? L1 equivalent for this one, this will be its self inductance, that is 50 minus 10. 10 is the minus 10 here, minus 10 here, because here dot is different, that means the orientation is different and the mutual inductance is not adding, this is opposing, so this is minus. And similarly minus 20 for this one. And similarly I can write for L2 equivalent will be, L2 will equivalent will be 20 minus 10 and plus 12, because here orientations are same, these fluxes are adding not opposing. So similarly L3 will be 60 minus 20 plus 12, and this is coming to be 20, and this is coming to be, this is 20 and this is coming to be 22 and this is coming to be 52. So now I have the three equivalent inductances which are connected in parallel, and the equivalent resistance are inductances are 20, 22 and 52. So these are connected in parallel. So this will be L1 parallel L2 parallel L3, and in case of parallel condition this obeys the same rule as the resistor. So this will be 20 plus 1 by 22 plus 1 by 52, and this will be equal to 8.72. So 8.72 is the answer, and here given that 8.77, so B will be the answer. Next question is hysteresis in the hysteresis is the phenomena in the magnetic circuit by which answer here is the B lags behind H. How? This is the hysteresis curve, this is the hysteresis curve where x axis represents the H and this is the B, and how hysteresis is occurring, this one is the hysteresis curve, and here when we are in the returning path, what is happening, H is fast becoming 0, but B later becomes 0, that means B is following A, that means B lags behind H. This is due to the remnant magnetic polarization. This term is called remnant magnetic polarization, and this one is called coercive field, and this is the maximum, and the loop area is the hysteresis loss. Loop area within this is called hysteresis loss. Next question number 99 is determine the value of self inductance in millihenry of a 6 cm long air cooled solenoid if the coil has 240 turns and the diameter of the coil is 4 cm. So here we have to apply the formula, physical formula for the inductance, that is mu n square A by L. This is an important formula and asked in many exams, in Coal India, in BARC and many exams. This formula has asked and related to this formula also. So you have to remember this formula, L is equal to mu n square A by L, where mu is the permeability, and this is given by 4 pi into 10 to the power minus 7, because of here this is the free space or air, and its unit is Henry per meter, and n square, n is the 240 square, and next is the A is the area, and what will be the area, here diameter is given to be, here the diameter of the coil is 4 centimeter. 4 centimeter is the diameter. So what will be the area? Area will be, A will be equal to pi d square by 4. That means pi d is 4 centimeter. That means 0.04 meter square by 4. So this is coming to be 1.257 into 10 to the power minus 3 meter square. So 1.257 So here I will put this one like 1.257 into 10 to the power minus 3 by L. L is given to be 6 centimeter, that means 0.06 meter. And if we calculate this one, this will be 1.516 millihenry. So this is asking in millihenry and we are getting this one. So here answer will be 1.514. We are getting 51516. So next question and the last question of this session is, which of the following law is based on the conversion of energy? Kirchhoff's current law, Kirchhoff's voltage law, Ohm's law and Coulomb's law. So this is Kirchhoff's voltage law, which is based on the conservation of energy. So this is the last question, and thank you for watching up to here.